Hi, I'm Caroline from Ellison Counselling, and I wanted to talk a little bit about grief and living grief and the difference. The difference is quite simply that living grief is when you are grieving the loss of somebody who is still living. For example, somebody who is in palliative care and is going to die soon, and you know that that's coming. There's that feeling, that grief, that loss, that terrible feeling, which is grief. We describe it as living grief because it's grieving for the living. Essentially, though, grief is grief in whichever guise it comes, whether it's living, whether it's grieving because that person has died, or whether it's the loss of something that you want to have and cannot have, or had once and can't have anymore. It doesn't have to be a person, it can be just something in your life, a difference, a change. Regret can often be wrapped into grief. The thing I will say about grief is it's a really complex emotion. And in my opinion, we grieve the way that we live. So the way that you grieve is likely to be very different to the way others around you will grieve. Grief can be very isolating because grief doesn't have a length of time. It isn't a 3 weeks period of grief and then everything carries on as normal. Grief can go on for as long as you need it to go on, years and years and years and years. It's different for all of us, it really is. There are no rules, there are no boundaries. Grief is a very deep feeling, and if you have never experienced grief, then it's really complicated to fully appreciate what it feels like. It's a physical pain, it's an emotional pain. It evokes grief anxiety, it evokes a deep sadness. It often brings in a sense of hopelessness and despair. The one thing I can say about grief, whilst it is the legacy of the one that you've lost and the love of the one that you've lost, grief over time, it will change. And over time, with the right support, if you need external support, it will become manageable. And eventually it will get to the point where you will still have that grief because it never goes, but it will be a manageable grief. And so you will be able to get on with your life, not as it was before because it's fundamentally forever changed, but you will move forwards. And it's that moving forwards and that manageableness of the grief which is important. So if you are finding yourself stuck in grief, then please reach out and talk to somebody, whether it be a private counsellor like myself or one of the charities like Cruise, and there are others available. Talk to somebody, because keeping your grief in isolation will not support you. Sharing your grief and reaching out for support, that will help you. I hope that this has been helpful, and I thank you very much for listening. You take lots of care. Bye-bye.